Good morning and welcome to the Saturday, April 16th meeting of TV Toastmasters. I'd like to welcome you and join us looking in from home, but also our guests in the audience, Larissa Goebel as well as Sharon West. Thanks for joining us today. And fellow Toastmasters, we have an exciting meeting in store for you. You can find out more about our club at www.tvtoastmasters.com. I'd now like to turn it over to our Toastmaster for today, Ms. Carol Kormelink.
Thank you, Madam President, and as she said, our most welcome guests and our members. Today, the Toastmaster is the one who is like the conductor of the meeting. I keep it flowing and help everyone. I introduce everyone. And the meeting, if you look at your agenda, we have impromptu, the word of the day, that the challenge is to use it when you come up to the lectern, and they'll count the ums and the ahs. We will have the Tabletopics impromptu speaking, where you're asked a question not of your choosing, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to answer that. And then we have the two speakers, and we will have the general evaluator that will do the feedback part of the meeting and introduce the evaluators, and we have the grammarian report and the timer report. And there is a change on there. The speaker number 2 will not be here. She came, but then she was ill and had to go back home. There was something else I was going to say, and I don't remember what that was.
Emily, do you have an evaluator? Michelle?
Oh, I was going to say, Steve, would you please show us the lights so we know that when you're table topics, it's 1 to 2 minutes? You want to say?
On first, then yellow, and that's what you
1, 1.5, and 2. And 2 means it's okay for you to quit because we've quit listening. And for the speeches, it will be 4 to 6 minutes for the first speech by Vicki Hart with her icebreaker, and then 5 to 7 for the second speech. And they sound very interesting. I would like to get started with our word of the day, which is from Richard Gant, the grammarian and the word of the day. Is this a surprise to you?
I had not realized I was responsible for the word of the day today. So, the word of the day is unprepared. As in, I was utterly unprepared to provide a word of the day. Madam Toastmaster?
Okay, thank you. I didn't point that out to you before you got up here. When people don't sign up online and there's empty roles, I just assign them the role, but I don't always remember to tell them ahead of time so they are prepared. And the challenge is to use the word of the day. So all of us have been unprepared for different things. Our next portion of the meeting is the table topics, the impromptu speaking. Emily Garrett will be our table topics master today.
Thank you. I was slightly prepared for this. I had 2 questions. I made up one right before I came in. And in this segment, I'll ask a question, and then I'll call on someone, and then you have from the time I call on you till you get up here to think of what you're going to say. And then when the green light goes on, you're good. When the red light goes on, that's enough. My first question is, and I don't really have a theme, just what's going on these days. The largest cat in the Guinness World Book of Records is a 418-pound tiger named Hercules. He lives in the Myrtle Beach Safari. Are you a cat person or a dog person, iguana, parakeet? Which is it? Steve?
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master, fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests, and those looking in from home. Well, I know that I am a dog person. My wife likes cats, but she's gotten to where we just have dogs. We have 2 little dogs, and I'm a little dog person. I don't mind big dogs, but I like to carry them around, And so there's a limit to how big they can be, that I can't carry them around. The first dog I ever had was a Dalmatian, and those aren't real small dogs. But I was carrying it around because, well, that's what you do with dogs. You hug them and everything. We have 2 little Boston Terriers. We've actually had, my wife and I have had dogs all of our time we've been married, which is now going on 28 years. So we've had Boston Terriers the whole time because my wife had a Boston Terrier when I met her. And the Boston Terrier actually had belonged to her ex-mother-in-law. And Bambi was her name. I knew she approved of me when I went over to my wife's apartment for dinner one evening. She had invited me over because I had to meet the animals to see if I passed their criteria. And the 3 cats all came around, even though one of them would always hide and the other one was rather aloof. And then Bambi was on my lap and everything, and when Bambi threw up on me, that was just the sign that I was in like Flint. So I'm a dog person.
My second question, and the most fun thing about Tabletopics to me, well, it's fun to be a speaker, but it's more fun making up the questions. My coworkers have the travel bug, and one coworker is coming back on Monday after a tour of Scandinavia. His wife was doing a presentation in Norway, so he thought he'd make a 2-week trip of it. And another one is leaving next week for the UK for 2 weeks. So it's fun to travel around and visit places, but if you were going to move outside of the U.S., where would you move? Larissa?
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. If I were to move outside of the U.S., there's a number of places I would probably choose to try. So I do have the travel bug myself. Later this summer, I will be visiting Italy with my in-laws. Actually having a planning meeting this evening at my house to plan all the different sites that we'll see in Rome, Florence, and Venice. If I were to choose a place to live for a significant amount of time, I would probably go with someplace where English is the first language. Be in my comfort zone there. However, I would like to be challenged a little bit and step outside of my comfort zone and be thrown into that society where I am forced to learn a second language. I admire those who do have a multiple language skill set. So looking at in the European region, I would say, maybe Ireland, the UK, somewhere in the UK, the Netherlands, someplace like that. Italy, who wouldn't want to live in Italy and drink wine and see all the wonderful sights that Italy has to offer. I'd like to be a little more adventurous and, suggest someplace like Thailand. I'm an avid scuba diver, so being close to the ocean and the coral reef, I think would be fantastic. So, I would be up for being adventurous and living abroad. So, thank you, Emily.
It's a little more difficult to pick a place to stay rather than just to visit. My next question is about something I saw in the news this morning. Jack McCullough, who was serving a life term in prison since 1957 for a murder that he did not commit, was freed just today or yesterday, I'm not sure which, after 59 years in prison. He's 76 years old. Put yourself in his shoes. If you were Jack, what's the first thing you would do when you get out? Rich?
What is the first thing I would do after getting out of prison 59 years after I was convicted for something I didn't do? The word lawsuit comes to mind. Because, to be honest, what else do I have to do with my life? Do I have a family? Probably not. I mean, 59 years after the fact, he was 76, it would make him 26, it would make him 17 when he went to jail. So the odds are he could have been married 59 years ago. That wasn't outrageous, it was unusual at that point, but maybe not outrageous. He probably didn't have any kids, though, so he's got no family waiting for him. His parents probably died while he was in prison. This man has nothing, so what has he got left to do other than make life a living hell for everyone involved and putting him in jail unfairly? This would be my attitude. I have nothing left to lose. You know, where's he going to live? I don't know. Probably at that point I might be thinking, well, I'm homeless. I'm homeless. This is great. Maybe I'll go rob somebody because what the heck? What are they going to do? Put me back? Home? I spent 59 years there. I know what I'm doing. It's more comfortable there than out here. What are these things people are carrying around? They're talking to little boxes. I don't know what that is. Why are they talking to boxes? This makes no sense. What is this internet thing they're talking about? They fish now? So, at least lawsuit. Yeah, I'd like to think I wouldn't turn back into a criminal, or into a criminal in the first place, since I really wasn't one to start with.
Thank you. Madam Toastmaster?
Did a great job with those questions. Thank you. And I do know someone who was released from the Innocence Project after 25 years, 4 months, and 10 days in prison for crimes he did not commit. And one of the conditions of his release, no lawsuit. That was through the UC Innocence Project. They got him released. Our first speaker today, I'm looking forward to this, is Vicki Hart. She is doing her icebreaker speech, her very first speech, to help her get comfortable speaking in public, and I will be her evaluator. And she is a simple woman living in the day. Let us hear from Vicki Hart, a simple woman living in the day.
Thank you, Carol. Well, I guess you could say that I am like a lot of Americans. I'm a mixture of German, Scottish, Dutch, and English roots. I was born and raised in Darke County, Ohio, which is a very rural part of the state with rich farmland. It is close to the Indiana border. My paternal grandfather purchased 3 farms in 1929 at the start of the Depression, and everyone said he was out of his mind. But it was actually chose to be a very wise move, and the farms are still in my family today. Also applied recently for family membership as a daughter of the American Revolution, as research has shown that I have 8 forefathers who served in the American Revolution. So I started my life out as a country girl with Midwestern roots and values like love of God, love of country, value of hard work, family, and simplicity. But my world was rocked when I was in 11th grade. My mother accepted a position as a property manager, which meant that our family had to move from the rural Ohio to the big city of Dayton, Ohio. And so I had to change schools, and this was a time too when there was some, this was in the early 70s, which there were little racial tension. They were starting busing. Drugs were coming into the schools. So it was a challenge for me at that time, but turned out to be a positive challenge in that I learned how to deal with new situations and meet new people and that type of thing. So another life-changing experience for me was at age 17. I had the opportunity for the summer to go work in England at a college, which was really enlightening. And I went to Scotland for a camp. And at the camp there were kids there from all over Europe. So I realized there was a world out there to discover. And it sparked an interest in travel, sparked an interest in meeting people of different cultures and different backgrounds. And that has continued in my life today. I love doing that. I went to college in East Texas. Spent 2 years there where I met my husband. He was from Eastern North Carolina. We decided to start our life together in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is a beautiful part of the Piedmont. And we started our family there. 5 years after that, our son was born, and 2.5 years after that, our daughter was born. So our life was going along fairly normal, as normal as life can be, I suppose. When he was offered he had a very good corporate position, but he was offered a job as an associate pastor for the church we were attending. This was a very life-changing thing that happened for us. We decided to accept this calling, so he left a very secure position to work for more hours and less money, and so that was a life change, I must say. Our journey took us to Augusta, Georgia, to Birmingham, Alabama, and then to Buffalo, New York. That was quite a transition. We were in Buffalo for 4 years and 10 winters, we like to say. And then to my delight, an opening came up in Cincinnati. So we moved here 20 years ago and love it here, love calling Cincinnati home, and plan to stay here indefinitely. While I was in Buffalo, I worked as a paralegal, and when we moved here, I decided to get my real estate license. So when I got my license, a top seasoned agent asked me to be her partner, so I had a very successful real estate career in this area for about 15 years and retired my license about 1.5 years ago. So now I'm approaching a new season in my life where I have more time to pursue some new opportunities. I have 2 little grandchildren and a 3rd one due in August. But personal growth has always been important to me. And that's why I'm here at Toastmasters, to grow and improve my communication and leadership skills. But I still remain, and always probably will, a country girl at heart. I really enjoy getting back to my hometown of Greenville and visiting there as often as I can. My life has had its ups and downs, however. I did go through a really hard time of depression and anxiety a few years ago when I think it was following the death of my parents. And I had always been there for others, and now I needed people to be there for me, and thankfully they were. And having come out of that now, 3 years out of that, has given me a new appreciation and a new passion, I think, for life and living in the moment. And as I age, since my husband is a church pastor, it seems like I attend a lot of funerals. And I always ask this question: will the world have been a better place because of me? And I don't want to be unprepared. So I think about what words are people going to speak at the end of my life. Our lives consist of 2 dates and a dash in the middle. And my desire is to make the most of the dash.
What a great beginning speech. And if you will please give us 1 minute on the timer, Steve, so that we can write some notes to her. You didn't bring out the evaluation form. Welcome back. We're ready for our second speaker. Our second speaker today will be Emily Garrett. She's an advanced communicator gold and an advanced leader bronze. She's very close to the top of the educational system as a distinguished Toastmaster. Her speech today is from the Competent Communication Manual, the basic one. She's already gone through it several times. Her title is Be the Laugher, and this is what insomnia has created in the middle of the night, which was inspired by a conversation after being Tabletopics master that day. Let us welcome Emily Garrett. Be the Laugher, Emily Garrett.
Thank you. There are many health benefits that can be gained from laughter. And the great thing is that your body doesn't know the difference between real laughter and fake laughter. That's why they started laughter yoga. Laughing oxygenates your brain and it reduces the level of stress hormones in your blood. It strengthens your immune system. It's like an aerobic exercise that energizes you and relaxes you. There are laughter clubs around the world, and they started in Bangalore, India. At first, a group of people got together and they started telling each other jokes to make each other laugh. But they soon found out that not everyone finds the same thing to be funny, and they also ran out of jokes pretty quickly. So they started doing these silly exercises to make people laugh. And once the first laugher started, laughter is contagious. Everybody chimed in and started laughing. I went to a few classes here in Cincinnati. You really do leave feeling like you have laughed a lot, even though much of it's fake. And it makes you more likely to laugh after the class. In fact, on the way home from the class, I laughed at how silly it was for a room full of people to be fake laughing. Later in the evening, after using all my laughing muscles, I just felt like laughing. And my son said, "Mom, stop it. Nothing's funny. You're going to have to stop going to that class." And that made me laugh. However, I'm no stranger to laughing. My dad and my grandma were my laughing mentors. Grandma would laugh so hard sometimes she just couldn't stop. And one time, when my grandparents were over to dinner, she fell out of her chair laughing so hard. She just laid on the floor, continually laughing. And my dad, I don't even know where to begin with him. My dad passed away 22 years ago, and whenever his name comes up, people will say, someone will say, "I loved your dad, he was so funny." And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. When I was 15, a teenager, one time my boyfriend was over at our house, and my friends Debbie and Karen and their boyfriends, we were all in the family room listening to 70s rock and roll. My dad was in the kitchen, and I thought safely tucked away, but here he comes, dancing into the room like a gorilla. He twirled around a couple of times, and he danced on out. Well, the boys bursted out laughing, and the girls looked horrified. They whirled around and looked at me, and I started laughing, and then they started laughing. Later, Debbie said, "I would have been horrified if my dad had done that." I said, "That's what he's like. You know him. Sometimes he's a gorilla, sometimes he's an elephant." My parents were very different from one another. My mom was very serious, and Dad, well, was the opposite. It's too bad they didn't rub off on each other a little bit more. They were married for 30 years, and then they were divorced. And when I think back about them being together, one scene in particular comes to mind. One evening we were out in the driveway. It was in the summer, it was warm out. We were in the back of the house, and my dad said, "Let's go get some ice cream." And my mom said, "I don't want any ice cream." And he went over and he acted like he was going to drag her to the car. "Come on, let's go get some ice cream." She's like, "I don't want any ice cream." And she broke away and she ran over to a big tree next to the driveway and put her arms around it and said, "I don't want ice cream." And he went over and pretended like he was going to pull her off the tree and drag her to the car. And that was the funniest thing that I've ever seen them do. And whenever I think about it, it makes me laugh. Laughter is really contagious. And when I went to the recent division speech contest, there were a lot of funny lines in the speeches. I really enjoyed it. One woman in particular in the front row was always the first one to laugh, and then everybody joined in. Some things were really only worth a chuckle or two, but her hearty laugh made everybody laugh just that much harder. It put me in such a great mood to be there listening to the speeches and laughing all afternoon. I don't laugh that much when I'm at work, creating system training in front of my computer. You know what I mean? People like the laugher are great to be around. Laughter is a positive energy that brings people together and improves relationships. And if you laugh more, people enjoy being around you. The woman at the Toastmaster speech contest may have been responsible for helping improve the health of 30 to 40 people that day. Be the laugher. It's a health benefit to everyone around you. Thank you.
Thank you for that great speech, and I know that is true because at one of our seminars at the district conference, they had the guy, J.J. Gamache from Canada, and he did laughter yoga, and there was about 30 of us in the room, and yeah, I should be quiet for a minute, but after my comment. And we did that, and we actually had to hold our stomachs and make ourselves belly laugh, and we were on coals, ha 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 ha. And we did that, and by the end, we all had our big belly laughs. And I read that if you're depressed, just turn up the corners of your mouth, and that will create the endorphins in your brain to feel good. 1 minute of silence, please. Welcome back. We now come to the greatest part of Toastmasters, is where you get immediate feedback on what you did well, what you can improve on, and what your strengths are. And our General Evaluator today is Michelle Lewis. Michelle Lewis, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I was a little bit unprepared for that, but now we are going into the most important part of the meeting today, and that's when our speakers get feedback, and this helps them improve upon their communication and also to understand the areas that they do well. But I can't do this without a team, and today my team is going to consist of Carol Kormelink will be giving the evaluation for Vicki Hart's speech. I will be giving the evaluation for Emily. We also have Steve acting as timer and Rich acting as grammarian. So definitely a team today that will help give feedback to all of our participants, but also the general flow of the meeting. So I'm going to start by introducing Carol Kormelink, who will be giving the evaluation for Vicki Hart. Carol?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Vicki, I loved your speech. I liked the values that you had. I liked the content. I liked the way you had organized your speech. I liked we got to know you very well, and I think it's great that your husband left his business to be a pastor. That's a great calling. And I know that you've probably influenced many, many people. And for living in the dash, you are definitely you're accomplishing things between the dash, because that's on your tombstone, as you said. That's all your birth date and death date, and everything else is the dash in between. You have a very good speaking voice up here, and even though you had notes up here, you were glancing at them, but still spoke to us in a conversational tone rather than having your head down at the notes. I thought that was very good that you used your notes that way. And actually, if you had not picked up your notes and flipped the page, we probably wouldn't have even noticed your notes that much. So that's one of the things to do better the next time, is if you're going to have the notes, slide the page aside, and then it's not so noticeable. And I liked, as I said, what I liked about your presentation was the values, and you were definitely prepared for your speech. You had a lifetime to prepare for it, and you did really well. I enjoyed your speech. And you already used some of the advanced techniques of organizing your speech. That was very well done. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Now I will be doing the evaluation for Emily Garrett, and she did project number 6 on vocal variety. Her title was Be the Laugher, and her objectives were to use volume, pitch, rate, and quality to reflect and add meaning and interest to her message, use pauses to enhance her message, and use vocal variety. Emily, what a fun topic. I think laughing is something we all like to talk about and we all like to do. I really enjoyed the fact that you use stories to tell about your experience with laughing and the different experiences that you had about your father, your grandmother, the story about your parents. I think that shows how nostalgic that moment was and how you can use that as an opportunity to be a laugher. I really like, the one thing I love about your style is you're so conversational. You're very relaxed up here. you said you struggle with vocal variety, but I think what you came up here and you were natural about it. You weren't trying to be over dramatic or be somebody that you aren't, which I think it commends that your style is you are who you are, and you're focusing on those aspects, but you're not trying to over dramatize those. One thing I thought you could potentially do was maybe start out with a group laughing exercise or a joke to start out your speech, so to really get that dramatic opening. I think it would have been fun if we would all had to do a yoga laughing move as a group, and then we would all kind of set the stage for the rest of your speech. But I think, again, you did a fantastic job. You incorporated pauses, which you do that very well anyways. And I really enjoyed your speech, so I'm looking forward to your next one. And now I am going to ask our grammarian, Rich Gant, to come up and give feedback on uses of crutch words, improper language, the word of the day, and I think he is now prepared to give us his feedback.
Thank you. Right. So we'll start with Michelle, our president and general evaluator for today. You were general evaluator, or did I get that wrong? I did not get that wrong. Okay. So I heard you once and hesitate once, so very well done. You also used the word of the day once. Carol, no ums at all. There were twice where you stumbled a little bit of your words. It was very subtle. If it had been one of our new people, I don't know if I would have even counted it as, our multiple distinguished Toastmaster. Something to watch out for, but you did a great job still. And you used the word of the day once as well. You were very prepared to be unprepared in that case. Emily, 2 little hesitations during your speech. No ums that I heard, though. Used the word of the day once. Vicki, I counted 17 ums. A lot of that just comes with practice. It was your first speech. Really, is not the thing you should be worrying about with your first speech. The first speech is usually when you're worrying about, am I going to pass out in front of these people and have it recorded for posterity? So you did a great job. You didn't use the word of the day, but again, you were working from a prepared speech. You did?
Mm-hmm. You did.
I was unprepared for that. So you did use it. I stand corrected. Steve, I heard no ums from you in your table topics. No hesitations, no false starts. No word of the day either that I noticed. Am I wrong? Oh, good. I got that one right. Okay, me, I haven't the slightest idea if I heard any ums or ahs myself, because they are really the hardest thing in the world for you to catch yourself doing. I did use the word of the day a few times. I had the advantage, though, of being the person who came up with it. So I got to work it into my conversation just telling you what it was. So I don't know if that counts or not. And then Larissa, I feel terrible anytime I have to do this to a brand new person who's just visiting. I counted 20 ums and one for myself. I just heard it there. So, but still, you got up, you spoke, you did a great job. The ums are the last thing you want to worry about when you're first getting started. So, wonderful job, everybody.
Thank you, Rich. Rich did a fantastic job today of preparing himself when he was utterly unprepared. So great way to, there's an right there, great way to transition into an uncomfortable situation. I'm now going to ask our timer, Steve Ehrenholt, to come up and give the timer's report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our guest, our first-time speaker, our icebreaker, and our audience looking in at home. One of the things we do at Toastmasters is we time different segments of the meeting so that we become more accustomed to speaking in a constrained time limit. We have to organize our thoughts so that we aren't just rambling on indefinitely. And we've done very well today. Actually, we could have taken a little more time on some of the things. Our opening with the Toastmaster was 1 minute and 32 seconds. Our grammarian and counter, who also presented the word of the day, which was unprepared, the word of the day was unprepared, although he did admit being unprepared as well, was 18 seconds. That was quite abbreviated. Our table topics speakers, my table topics was 1 minute and 39 seconds. We have 1 to 2 minutes for table topics. Larissa, your table topic was 1 minute and 37 seconds, so that was fine. And Rich, yours was 1 minute and 41 seconds. All of them were right in the time frame that we want. Vicki, your icebreaker speech is to be 4 to 6 minutes, and you used 5 minutes and 53 seconds, so that was just fine. You do have an extra 30 minutes. You have an extra 30 seconds after the red light comes on to wind up. You did great. Emily, for your speech, Be the Laugher, it was 5 minutes and 39 seconds, and you wanted it between 5 and 7 minutes. Our general evaluator, I didn't time you when you started introducing this section of the meeting. Vicki's evaluation presented by Carol was 1 minute and 41 seconds. And I think for evaluations we have, is it 2 to 3? 2 to 3 minutes. So you could have actually expounded a bit more. Michelle, your evaluation of Emily's speech was 1 minute and 43 seconds. We were very succinct today as far as our evaluations go. Grammarian, Richard, your evaluation was 2 minutes and 19 seconds, and I know that the grammarian and knock counter often winds up being shorted a bit for time because depending upon how everyone is doing, you might have a lot to talk about. And my timer report, I'm not timing myself, so I have a free pass. Madam General Evaluator.
So just a few quick comments on the meeting today. I thought it was very efficient. We did get started a little bit late, I believe, but Carol can probably tell me what time we actually got started.
Well, I did. I had the Toastmaster was at 30. No, I didn't. We were on time. We were on time.
Good. I honestly didn't pay attention to when we started. Okay, perfect. So we got started on time. I wanted to say, Vicki, what a wonderful speech. It gave us such insight to who you are. I know it's such a heartwarming story, and I think it gives us a little idea of why you're here and some of your goals and aspirations and your roots. So it's always nice to learn a little bit about our other members. So great job today. Wonderful speech, as always. So entertaining, and I'm now going to look into these laughing classes because I think we could have some fun. Feedback today, you did a great job, Carol, as always. I know you say that evaluating is your weakness, but I think you are a very good listener and you do a fantastic job. So there wasn't anything else that I would have recommended. And as far as my evaluation, well, I did awesome too. I was efficient, 1 minute and 40 seconds. But overall, what a great meeting. Again, I commented on Rich being unprepared, but I think you did a great job of getting yourself out of that situation. And as Steve, you're always on top of it, keeping time. So great job, everyone. And I'm now going to call our Toastmaster back up. Carol?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Did you want your book back?
I'm going to come right back up.
Oh, okay. I just think we had a fantastic meeting for not having all the roles filled when we started this morning. We had them all filled, and great word that you came up with, Rich, the unprepared. That was really good. And I hope everyone will come back, and if you want to join, I'm also the treasurer of the club, and if you'd like to join us, we'd be willing to help you today. And I would turn it back to our president, Michelle Lewis.
And we coordinated our outfits today. I am now going to close the Saturday, April 16th meeting of TV Toastmasters. Those looking in at home, if you'd like to find out more about us, you can log on to www.tvtoastmasters.com. I'd like to thank our guests, Sharon and Larissa, for joining us today, and this concludes our meeting.